Hi, my name is Faith Madere, and I teach at Letcher High School in St. James Parish. As an educator, I am most passionate about creating meaningful learning experiences where every student feels valued, engaged, and capable of deep thinking. I believe students learn best when they have opportunities to collaborate, question, and take ownership of their learning. So I design lessons that are highly student-centered and discussion-driven. The students in this video are my 8th graders. Our focus on the primary source is A Flapper's Appeal to Parents, written in 1922 by Ellen Wells Page from the Bayou Bridges curriculum. The lesson objective is I can analyze the political, social, cultural, and economic effects of early 1900 events using a primary source. Students will meet this objective by breaking down excerpts from the source, discussing the type of change each expert represents, and teaching their findings to their peers. To support this, I'm using a jigsaw structure. Students begin in expert groups where each group focuses on one type of change: political, social, cultural, or economic. In their expert groups, they analyze an assigned excerpt from the source, answer guiding questions, and determine how the excerpt represents their category of change. This directly supports Standard 8.6 because students are interpreting a primary source and working to understand how one source shapes our understanding of the 1920s. After becoming experts, students move into their home groups, where they teach their group members what they learned. By combining all 4 perspectives, students develop a full picture of how flappers represented a broader early 20th century changes, which aligns with the Standard 8.12. To prepare for this lesson, I decomposed my standards, annotated the source using the Bayou Bridges curriculum guide, and designed station tasks that match the rigor of the achievement level descriptors. This lesson connects directly to our unit goals by helping students recognize how economic, cultural, political, and social changes shaped American life in the 1920s. I have a range of learners in this class, so I built in structured note sheets, sentence starters, and clear roles in the jigsaw to support all students. At the same time, the collaborative structure allows students to excel in discussion, to extend their thinking, and take leadership within their groups. Let's take a look at what we accomplished in this lesson. Your date is 1922. We are in what decade right now? Sorry, not right now, in this context. 1920s. What are some nicknames for this time period? Roaring 20s, Jazz Age, all of these things very much describe what it was like in this decade. And then our author is Ellen Wells Page. She was a flapper herself. Ellen Page is a flapper. Now, what exactly is a flapper? Look at this picture I have here. I showed you this a while back in this week's lesson as well. Now, one of these ladies is not exactly Miss Ellen. However, she was this type. She was in this world. Remember, back then, ladies were not expected to show this much skin, even though it's not inappropriate thing to wear nowadays. It kind of was back then. Ladies couldn't show their arms or their ankles or wear high heels or look at the amount of makeup and hair that they had. They definitely were, this was out of the social norm. Who do you think would be judging them in this time period? The older generation. Do you see why now she would be writing to this older generation? Those are the people that are what? To her, judging her, or judging her group of people, saying, this is not what women are supposed to do, right? This was a job. This was a way of life, or a what? Look at our objective. What word would it fall under? Her culture. To overlook our shortcomings. What does she mean? Who's our? Who's she talking about? The flappers. The flappers. At least for the present, and to appreciate our virtues. I wonder if it ever occurred to any of you that it required brains to become and remain a successful flapper. She's being a little what in this? A little sassy. She said, I wondered if it ever occurred to you that it actually, we have to be smart to be a flapper. We are not less than. She's like, I know as you use older generation, you think that just because we don't do what you expect us to do, we're not doing it right. But she's saying, no, even though we're not doing what you want us to do, that doesn't mean we're not smart and we don't understand that we are challenging these societal norms. She said, yes, indeed it does. It requires an enormous amount of cleverness. These are some traits of a flapper. Cleverness and energy to keep going at the proper pace. It requires self-knowledge, self-analysis. We must know our capabilities and limitations. We must be constantly on the alert. What's going to happen is I have 4 sections around the room. We have our 4 words that have been in our learning targets or our objectives all week. Social is this wall by the president. Political is by my map. Economic is by the tree, and then cultural is up here by our anchor charts. Political, ooh, this is the tougher one. What's our first one that we did? Times. How is that political? What do you think? The war, remember? We discussed that in our annotations, right? Who is deciding that we need to go to war, and who is kind of not responsible, but in a way, a little bit for the war and the loss? The government, right? The government plays a big part in why this generation has gone through so much loss of hope, right? What's your second one you're thinking of? Yes, she's asking them, work with us, please. And this can be government too, right? Government, we need your assistance. We need more outlets to continue with our extra knowledge that we now have as this younger generation going through all of these things. They have a lot more energy. She's begging older generation, government included, to continue to advocate and not be so judgmental, right? All right, good. Economic, how we doing? What we got? Perfect. What are some inventions? Perfect. And what is this doing? Why is this?
It brings more money. It's bringing more communication. It's also showing the older generation how harder the new generation's lives are.
Perfect. Absolutely, right? That older generation has no idea what these new inventions are bringing in. It's creating, definitely the younger generations have a lot more to deal with, a lot more on their plate than that older generation.
Also, it shows that how the new inventions created more communication and the way people talk.
Yes. Also, what did we say about the younger generation? They're older and wiser. Why? Because they've had to
Go through so much stuff.
they have so much more experience. They had to grow up faster. Add that too, right? Along with that communication, because could people communicate and connect nationally before any of this? No. There was literally no way to, right? Remember we talked about that switchboard operator. There was literally an actual person that had to connect the calls, right?
Do they still do that now?
No, it's not a person anymore.
Younger generations more.
Right, experience more, had to grow up faster, right? A lot faster than that older, which is why they said even though we are younger than you, we're a little bit wiser because we've had to experience a lot of these changes more than you have. Yeah. Vocabulary. Think about, look, y'all have the one right there. Do you think that there's anything?
It have to be in from that.
It doesn't. It could be either or. So anything from here, or if you want to talk about some things that maybe your group members may not know. For example, we talk about all the different shortcomings. That's not a very common word that you use every day, is it?
Yeah, no.
What do you think shortcomings, what is she trying to say when she's saying, older generation, can you please just overlook our shortcomings? Overlook what? Don't look at what? Don't look at all of our negative things about us. Don't look at all the mistakes we make. Maybe look at the things that are positive about us, our positive traits, right?
Do you think minority is it?
Modernity?
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Because the older people are used to that modern life.
Remember, modern is what? Something that is very
common. Or
remember what we talked about? That was day 1 of the chapter.
Oh, it was new.
Up to date, right? Present. Is this generation more in that modern era, that up to date? Yes, yes. That older generation is kind of, well, modern for the 1920s,
Yeah.
not modern now, right? So that older generation, they wouldn't understand that modern tea that the younger generation.
So modern tea is like up to date.
Yep, exactly. So that can definitely be an actual vocab word that you throw in there as well.
So should I start with this?
Yep, absolutely. Look, she was political, so you go all the way to 4. And Paxton, you can scratch off yours as well. So which color? Which one color? Which word were you? Perfect, absolutely. So she's on number 4. All right, you may continue, Davy, with your evidence. Experienced, absolutely.
Work with us. That is the way our life for this
Surplus.
surplus knowledge and energy must be open.
Yes. And why did you pick that second one specifically? Talking, work with us. What is the flapper talking about? Work with us. Who do they want to be on their side? Whenever you think about your word, political. The government, right? They want more support from the government, right? The government's the reason why they're going through all of this loss, right? Awesome. We all have down one of AP's evidence. Okay, continue with how this affected. Kind of what we just talked about with the government, right? Explain that more to them, Fabi. Why did you pick that specific piece of evidence? We all good over here? All right, let's continue.
More experience than you were at our age.
And Gia, why does that connect with your word? What would you tell them?
Because the war has changed their mindset, and they need the support of the government to keep the pace with the rapidly advancing generation.
Exactly. Very nicely worded,
How that's
Gia.
affected.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to write her entire thing. You could just write kind of what stuck out to you, right? So she's talking about how the flappers need the government support. They need help. They need that reassurance that even though they might not be doing what's normal, it doesn't mean that they're wrong. They need to be supported in that time of loss. And that's exactly what Gia just said. Fabulous.
They need the support.
Awesome. Yep. From who? Political. Think about what Gia said. The government, exactly. You can keep your readers out. I want your iPads to that exit ticket. At this point, you were taught by an expert of every one in your group, and you should be an expert on all effects of this time period. In reflecting on this lesson, I do believe that students met the objective. I saw this in the station work where students actively identified political, social, cultural, and economic changes using evidence directly from the primary source. Their written responses showed that they could explain not just what changed, but why these changes were significant to the early 1900s. I also listened to student conversations during stations, and many students were making connections between inventions, women's rights, generational tension, and post-World War I attitudes. These are the exact analytical skills Standard 8.12 asks for. If I were to teach this lesson again, I would build in a short whole group share out at the end. Stations give students deep independent and group practice, and a closing discussion would help synthesize their learning and allow students to hear different perspectives. This would also give me opportunities to gather additional formative data to drive the next lesson. After the teacher segment, students began a short exit ticket where they were asked to identify one political, one social, one cultural, and one economic change using evidence reflected in the source. These will help me determine which categories they understand most confidently and which ones need researching or further reinforcement. Something important to note is that this lesson reflects my belief in student-centered learning. Students are doing the thinking, the analyzing, and the evidence gathering. My role is to facilitate, support, and challenge them. My passion as an educator is helping students feel capable of analyzing complex history, building confidence in their voices, and understanding the world through multiple perspectives. Most importantly, I want my students to leave my class knowing that history is not just something that happened. It is something that shaped who they are and who they can become. Thank you for spending the time to learn with us. I hope you enjoyed the lesson as much as my students and I did.